a good place now. You are listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. On today's show, I'll be talking about support systems. Finding your support system, figuring out when you might need one, but better yet, what does it mean to even have one? You know, I find that many of us feel as though we are just forging the world on our own, not really having anybody there to help us and just kind of going through it day after day, hoping that we'll get a spark of reflection or a download of crucial information that can make our life easier. You know, I find that it seems that some people have the support system that they need. You see that they have the family dynamic, the friends surrounding them, where it looks like others feel as though they have nobody, and they wonder what to do. And it's interesting because when you're thinking about support, a lot of times I think that people say, well, I don't really need any help. I'm doing things fine. I'm rocking and rolling. I'm getting through it. But, you know, I think that all of us to some degree need guidance. You know, I think we often hear a support system and we're talking about people that have gone through and overcoming addiction. You know, it's really hard to break the habit of drugs and alcohol because it's not just about drugs or alcohol. There's other things behind the reason of doing or drinking or doing drugs. And so there's an entire psychological basis for that. And, you know, we hear people say, well, they just need to quit this or they need to quit that. But is that the reality? Because usually there's a lot of things behind it. You know, I think many of you out there have good families and you have some support. Many of you out there feel as though you're the lone wolf. You have no support. Maybe you don't even speak to your mother, your father. Maybe you don't even speak to the rest of your family because you've had a falling out, disagreements, don't see eye to eye. Maybe they walked out a long time ago. And this can be very overwhelming to make changes and to hold yourself accountable. You know, I work with many clients every week, and I have some clients that tell me that they haven't even spoken to their family in years because they had a falling out. Mom was addicted to drugs, couldn't get over it. There was a lot of issues, and so they left the house, and then they moved on, and they left that state, and so they're in a new place with new people, you know, forging their way through things. And until you find someone that can really be there for you, until you can find a support system, it can feel very overwhelming. And, you know, I find that everybody needs some sort of support system, you know, whether it's a spouse or a brother, a sister, mother, father, best friend. But it's also, what are we doing to support our support system as well? You know, a lot of times we say, you know, what's in it for us, or how are we going to get this, or I need this, or I need that to make my life better. What are we also doing to encourage and to help those folks who also support us as well? It's a two-way street. And I think this is a very interesting component because when we begin to realize the value of who we all are, we begin to realize that we're all here for a reason together. We begin to realize our validity. We begin to realize our connectivity, our connection. And to understand that we're not here just to raise ourselves up, but we're here to help other people raise up as well. And it takes a village. You know, I think many of us, and I know I've done it, trying to go it alone. And, I mean, there's a lot of factors in my life and a lot of things that I work on my own. But if it was just me all the time, very overwhelming, very sterile, you know, and quite honestly, kind of, you know, daunting. You know, I think we've all been in positions on our own where we had to make a huge change in our life and we had to let go of the old ways. You know, when I work with folks about letting go of certain things that have been holding them back for a long time, they begin to tell me that their friends or whoever they thought were their friends are walking out on them. They're no longer around. And it can be very scary because it begins to look very bleak. And remember, when we're making big changes in our life, fundamental life changes, things cannot stay the same. Okay? when we're making fundamental life changes, when we're changing maybe values, beliefs, or we're actually exercising our ability to follow that belief or that value, or to finally stand up for it for the first time in our life, or to create those significant boundaries, right? There are going to be massive changes to the folks around us. Some people aren't going to like it. Some people are going to fear it. Some people are going to avoid it. Some people know it's the right thing to do, but they don't want to deal with the change because that means that they actually have to make some changes in their life as well. And change is one of the scariest things for most people. Okay? And I think we've all been there before where we have change on the horizon. There's a lot of things going on. It can be overwhelming, and I think this is when you need your support system more than ever. But it also means it's time to clarify one's support system. I think often enough we see everybody as our support system and, we're having a good time and things are going, but who's really there for you and who are you really there for? And that's something that I want you to ask yourself that question right now. If there was one little boat and it could fit 10 people in it, who would be in that boat with you? Who would be in the boat and why would they be there? Okay, and these are really deep questions. Who would be in your boat with you and why would they be there? And so I'm beginning to think about my own boat right now. Who would be in my boat of 10? Who would be the folks in my boat of 10? And I really want you to think about that because I don't want to put these ideas in your head right now. We'll talk about it here later on because this is very important. What does a support system stand for? Because this could be people that you look up to. This could be people that are in your family. This could be people that you see on TV or hear on radio. This could be parents, your children. This could be anybody or, when you think about it, this could also be your pets. I know that Buddy, my bull terrier, is going to be on that boat with me. I mean, he's a support system, and I'm his support system. If I'm not there, he doesn't eat. Right? He doesn't get water. He doesn't get fed. He doesn't go to the bathroom. He doesn't go out on a walk. I'm Buddy's support system, but he's also my support system because he snuggles with me, and he loves me. And we get along really well. And we have, the unspeakable love. We love each other unconditionally. And so definitely he's going to be one of the folks on the boat. Yes, he's a bull terrier. He's still one of the folks on the boat. But think about it. Who's on that boat with you? What does that mean to you? Because I think this is some powerful stuff. And I think this is where we really need to focus on the support system. Because to me, support system means, hey, this person holds me accountable. Right? Versus like gluttony. You got some friends that, man, if you hang out with them, your world would be ruined. I mean, you got to have some sort of like ability to do the right thing. You can't just say, oh, I'm the victim and they made me do all these things. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have gone down this slippery slope. But there are some friends that we absolutely adore, but they're not really healthy for our life. Okay, you can have small times with them, you can have incremental times, and be really aware of the time that you're spending, but they're not considered your support system. Because a support system has to be supportive, okay? Like, they can't be the opposite. They can't be like, man, let's go crazy, or hey, I got no responsibilities. Come on, hang out with me. Not good stuff there, okay? We're looking for people that can what? Keep us accountable. Accountability is a big thing. Accountability to what? What we stand for, what we believe, our responsibilities. I mean, think about that, because that's where we get lost between the support system and kind of random friends, is that we look at some of these random friends that we love, but they're not adding support in our life. Some of them are actually causing grief because it's making you question your values. It's making you question your judgments. Why? Because what they're doing is going antithetical to your belief, and they're actually making you think about doing it yourself. Definitely, you have to have willpower, but it can be very hard to have lots of willpower in a situation like that, because it can really prey on your insecurities. It can prey on, kind of not addictions, but the ability to kind of go off the rails pretty quick. And I think everybody knows what I'm talking about on this. If you're trying to really work through things and you're trying to, really be responsible and you're really focusing on, creating that healthy lifestyle, if you're spending time with people that don't have healthy lifestyles, you really need to think about it. Stay tuned when I return to be talking more about what a support system does and how to really locate your support system and be a support system to other people. Live Your True Life Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. You know it. I'll be back this time in 2 shakes.
Turn it up and jump in the deep end on Perspectives. Now, here's Ashley.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. On today's show, I'm talking about support systems. Do you have one? Do you know what it is? And I think you can understand it from this concept that I was talking about right before the break. I was talking about thinking about a boat, a small boat, and you can only fit 10 people in the boat. Who would be in your boat, considering that this boat would be your support system? Not your crazy friends, not the ones that kind of push your life to the brink, not the ones that take you off of being accountable. Because remember, what a support system is people that actually help you to succeed. And I'm not saying they do the work for you, not at all. They actually allow you the support to feel good about what you're doing, to feel that somebody's listening. They're there to help you be accountable, be your accountability partner. Hey, when they see you, doing something that you said you didn't want to do, or being active in activities that aren't supporting your lifestyle, hey, bringing it up, not being afraid of you, not being afraid to bring up the situation, not being afraid even to not be liked by you. So there's a great difference between random friends and your support system, because support system really could be anybody that you look up to. It could be somebody that you watch on YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, I have a YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube, Google YouTube, put in Ashley Burgess. Ashley, B-E-R-G-E-S. Ashley, B-E-R-G-E-S. You find new video content every week on relationships, overcoming adversity, dealing with a lot of the issues we have to deal with in life that we really don't have a support system for. That's what the whole channel is created for. A lot of the things that we need answers for, well, we don't learn them in school. And we didn't learn them from our family. Not because they didn't want to help us, but because they didn't know. And these things that we need to know that we don't learn in school are things that can change our life for the better. Otherwise we feel like we're in the dark. And so looking up to somebody that you might not know, or learning from somebody that you might not personally know that actually helps you, that almost mentors you. I think a lot of times we feel as though we have to have a physical mentor. We have to see this person and they have to be around. But is that really true? Or can we actually look towards something else? I think many people look toward God as a mentor. I think people look up to, ministers as mentors. I think they look up to scholars as mentors. I mean, there's a lot of folks you can look up to and kind of see how they actually go through their day-to-day life and what they're doing. And that will inspire you to do what you need to do. Some of us look up to some folks that we see on TV or hear on the radio. We look up to our own children sometimes. Age should not define wisdom. The childlike state of mind is one of the most powerful states to be in. And it can really offer us a support system for the stress and anxiety that we're going through in a day-to-day life. Many of us are overwhelmed with stress. We have so many responsibilities. We don't know how to deal with all of our responsibilities. We don't know how to overcome some of the obstacles in our life. And I don't know about you, but I have had many obstacles in my life. Some very extreme. And, how we deal with those obstacles directly relate our life, but, sometimes we have to forge our way. And there's been times where I've had support systems, times that I haven't. My mom has been a great support system to me, and I think many of you have a parent as well. And, it's interesting when you think about parents, the support system. And I think some of us also need to realize that titles don't always dictate support. I mean, it could be somebody like maybe you really love your aunt or uncle or your cousins, your mom, dad, but it doesn't seem like they're really supportive because they don't really understand how to support themselves. You know what I'm saying? They can be great people, but they might not know how to support themselves. So how can they begin to support you? And so that's kind of how the flip-flop works because, well, maybe it's time to try to help them. Maybe it's time to try to help them and be supportive. You know what I'm saying? Very powerful stuff. Because maybe your father's going through a hard time, or your aunt or uncle needs some help. Does it matter about age? No. So think about that kind of thing when we turn around the support system thought process. Very interesting stuff because our support system is intricate. It's not just all about the people that support us. It's about the people that we support as well. It should be both ways. You see what I'm saying? Because remember, if somebody's always supporting you and you're never supporting them, that's really top heavy. Doesn't work. It's like somebody always paying for something and never getting back anything in return. That doesn't work either. It's like somebody helping someone out and the only time that person's around is when they need help. Not to help the other person, just when they need something. Again, that's not a support system. I mean, I believe that when you're actually living life right and doing what's right, everybody, to some degree, if you allow them, becomes a support system within the conscious, subconscious realm. I mean, if you think about it, to some degree, everybody that you come into contact some way, somehow, can be supportive. Just like anybody that you come into contact with, you could be supportive of them. And I find that interesting, too, because I think a lot of times we're just looking at how we can get support or how we can get this or how we can get that. But how do we help other people to also facilitate that? And I've also realized that when we actually think about helping other people, the stuff about us actually just kind of works itself out. And so I want you to ask yourself again, who is my support system and who am I the support system of? Who do you support? Who supports you? Because I think if you begin to really realize that, you'll realize that if it's proper and it's equal, that you support them and they support you. Now, you might find that there's some situations that you're less supportive of them or that they're less supportive of you. Now, why is that? Because I really want you to think about that. I think that titles have become a big deal in our society. Mom, dad, spouse, cousin, boss, all that kind of stuff. Does the title matter or can we get over the title? Because I think the titles get in the way of influencing us. And I think that when you begin to realize that it's not just, I'm not trying to be a jerk about this, but it's not just the fact that your mother's supposed to support you. Yes, your mom's supposed to support you. You're her kid, but at the same time, aren't you supposed to be there for her too? Now, I understand if there's a toxic situation that is preventing this from happening. However, what have you done to try to change the toxic situation, remedy it? And the only thing you can do in certain situations is be honest, be transparent, be there. And sometimes that can be challenging in its own right. However, I found that a support system and that boat of 10 need to be with the folks that share this thought process with you. You know, it's interesting when we think about what we stand for. I don't know if you figured this out by now, but when we spend time with other people who stand for the same values and beliefs, we get along very well, right? Because it's just the way it is. However, if you're hanging out with people that don't resonate with that, you know, it's okay to have a different perspective. But I think there's certain core things that, quite honestly, have to be part of the support system for it to actually be supportive, okay? And so what I'm saying here is that if you're needing a support system to really help you to be accountable, to really keep you on the straight and narrow, and to really help you to become successful as far as, you know, stepping up to the plate, taking care of responsibilities, doing what's need to be done, you need people around you who are doing the same thing. You need people around you who are doing the same thing, because if they're not, then who are you really spending time with? Because remember, if they're not doing the same thing, how can they help you and support you to do what you need to do? So there's like portions of the support system who are not supportive. There's actually parts of the support system that is kind of dragging the support system down. It's not working because of that situation. It's like having a rehab facility where everybody's working to get sober and to stay sober and to learn why they weren't sober, and you got a couple of people working the rehab facility who at night are going out and doing drugs and alcohol. It's not going to work. Do you see what I'm saying? If you need support with your marriage, and you need support to be able to be there and really focus on your kids and do what's right, because you know that things have maybe gotten off the rails a little bit, and you know that you might have walked down a slippery slope type path, and now you're realizing the value, you can't be spending time with people who don't see that. Not going to work very well. I mean, every other weekend they're going to be inviting you to Vegas. What are you going to do? You know, I mean, it's a joke, but seriously. You got to find other people whose values are in the same place, because that's the only way that we create support. And some of you are going to have to find that support system outside of your family because it's not available to you with the family. Okay? And that's okay. Remember, it's time to get rid of the labels. Labels don't mean anything. A lot of times we get down and out about the fact that, oh, well, I feel like everybody's got the support of this person or that person and I don't. Well, is that really bad, or are we all in a unique trajectory? And there's some people that can support you more than others. When I return, guess who's in studio tonight? Reggie Harvey. Reggie Harvey is one of my good friends. He has an amazing perspective. He just wrote a book, Anatomy of a Patient. Powerful stuff. You can buy it on Amazon. And his website is reggieharvey.net. And you can get a lot of information on him, on the book, on his blog, and also hear the past shows that he's been on. Very powerful stuff. And so when I return, he'll be joining me live in studio. So stay tuned. Live Your True Life Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. I'll be back this time. You know it. I'll be back in 2 shakes.
This is Jake Busey, and you're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. On today's show, I've been talking about support systems. What makes a real support system? Are you supportive to other people? Is your support system equal opportunity? Do you support them? Do they support you? And when I was talking about the analogy and the thought process of the boat, there's a boat that you have. There's only 10 people that can get on the boat, including your pets, your children, or whoever you want. Who goes on that boat with you? Think about that, because that's your main core support system. And, one of the things I think that a lot of times we don't think about is we don't realize One, how important it is to have a support system because it allows us to be accountable. They help us to stand up for what we believe in, our values, and all that stuff, as well as they help us to really follow through on our responsibilities, but they also encourage us to be better than we were yesterday. They encourage us to be even more successful and to really go after our goals and our dreams and desires. On the other hand, too, they can be very supportive when we're going through a lot of stress, anxiety, overcoming massive adversities, and we have to be able to do the same thing as well. And that's something that we really must think about. Now it's time. Join me in studio, Reggie Harvey. Reggie Harvey is a survivor of a near-death illness. He's also the writer and creator of Anatomy of a Patient. This is a new book. It's amazing. And it really chronologically outlines the situation that Reggie's gone through, how he's dealt with his diagnosis, and what he's doing right now as he's waiting for a transplant and in the transplant process. It can be very helpful to anybody that's going through this process or knows somebody, because this book can get some strength and hope, but also can really serve as a support system to really understand what's happening and to know that someone else is going through it too. They're alive, they're kicking, and they're going to make the best of what they can of every moment. And so this could really help a relative or friend or family member of yours who's in your support system right now. You can find the book, Anatomy of a Patient. The book is available on Amazon.com as well as on ReggieHarvey.net, REGGIE Harvey.net. Now it's time. Reggie's joining us in studio, offering his perspective.
Yeah, great. Let's talk about support systems. Mine started actually when I was a toddler, just about, and my father explained to me that every member of the family had a job to contribute to the well-being of the family. And the evening before I started kindergarten, he told me that my job as a member of the Harvey family was to go to school and to learn something. And that if I had questions, I should respectfully ask the teacher the question, and if I wasn't satisfied with the answer I received, then I was to come home and share that experience with him and my mom, and they would try to answer my question. And if I still wasn't satisfied, we'd all go together to see the teacher and discuss it until I had a satisfactory response. So I believed that I had a commitment to contribute to the well-being of the family, and that started when I was 5 years old. That evolved into my probably, 8, 9, 10 years old, to where I learned from my parents that they were not going to punish me or judge me for the decisions that I made. Their only requirement was that I be accountable for the decisions I made, good or bad. If a decision I made led me to some problems, as long as I owned up to the fact that I made that choice, I made that decision, and I didn't try to pawn it off on someone else or play the victim, they were there to help me work through the other side of that issue. But if I in any way tried to provide cover for myself for being stupid, then they let me know, well, you're on your own. We don't know how to help you. And so I learned, they didn't tell me that's what they were going to do, but from trial and error, I figured out, if I'm going to go and ask them for help, I had better come clean. And the odd thing, actually, is that process taught me to face up to what I did or to face up to what other people may have done to me. Either that I wasn't paying attention, sharp enough attention, or questions that I left unanswered and just thought, well, that doesn't really matter. I began to pay attention to what was happening around me and my surroundings and my environment and how I was going to play in that situation. It evolved, the support system idea evolved again when I left college and was out on my own, and I realized I couldn't remember everything. I remember a time when I used to remember the programming schedule for all of the 3 channels that we had. I'm dating myself now. But And I prided myself on knowing that, and I knew everybody's phone number, and I knew all of this stuff. And suddenly, when I was about 24 years old, I had a purge in my brain, and I couldn't remember anything. So I had to learn how to cope with that, because I couldn't call mom or call dad and ask them to remind me to do something. We didn't have the internet, and we didn't have Alexa or Siri or any of that stuff. So I learned to make lists of the bills that I had, when they were due, how much they were for, so I could keep that list. I would sit down once a month and do that and project what my responsibilities were and what the timing was, and check things off as I processed them. And that began a new level of providing a support system for everyday mundane things. It evolved again as I started doing independent projects and contracts, because then I started to craft a support system with those chosen family members, as you mentioned, figuring out who I could depend on, who I could share my fears with, my apprehensions, my screw-ups, and not worry about, again, them judging me for it, but just being honest and being able to admit, hey, I need help. I screwed this up. I didn't pay attention to everything I should have, and I'm a little frustrated. I need help figuring my way out of this hole. And to my surprise, most of the people that I evaluated for dependability proved to be dependable. And they were eager to be called upon to lend their not so much their advice, but their experience, and to make suggestions for the sequence of events that I should practice in order to get myself out of the situation. Also, I learned that, just like with my parents, if I in any way tried to spin the story, didn't come clean with those people, and they found out that I had done that later down the road, I would have forever compromised their trust with me. And that was a, what do you want to call it, punishment or consequence? That's what, it was a consequence that I learned quickly you don't want to bring on yourself.
And Reggie, what about now, dealing with the illness and the situation that you've embarked on now? How has that changed as well?
Well, actually, in the first year, I learned that I still needed a support system, but I needed to engage it in a different way. And what I mean by that is, even though I was wrestling with all of the emotional and physical challenges associated with my renal failure, I still had to be the one to make everyone around me comfortable, including my doctors, including the medical staffs, the pharmacists, the friends and neighbors. It was another task that I had to take on, because I had to incentivize them that I was fighting with all my might, so that they would be encouraged to do a little extra for me. And that ended up creating a new trust relationship between these people that I did not know before my illness, whereas they would bring to me ideas that went above and beyond just keeping me alive. And so that's where I learned that this idea of a support system, one, again, you need one. You can't do everything on your own. Two, you need to consciously engage people to be a part of that support system. You still need to choose the people that have proven to you that they would be dependable and not fearful of the situation. And the last lesson that I learned about this new level of support system is that everyone is very fearful of their own mortality. So if they see me freaking out over my situation, then they end up being a puddle of emotion, and that's not going to help anybody. I talk about that in my book, Anatomy of a Patient, which you can find on Amazon.com, or you can go to my website, reggieharvey.net, ReggieHarvey.net, and find links to where you can purchase the book, again, on Amazon. It's been great to be with you, and I think this topic is very important. A support system does not last indefinitely. You have to renew them throughout your lifespan. and that's okay.
I agree with Reggie. We do have to really look at our support system and realize there'll be times when we can be very supportive, times when other people will be very supportive, times when some people will come and go, just like we will. You know, it's very interesting. We have to look at that support system because it really allows us to gain not only traction, but it allows us to see the progress that we've gone through. It allows us to see other people's progress. But one of the things that I really want to think about when we get into the next segment is to really talk about and think about those people on the boat. Who's in your boat with you? You know, what are the things that are important to you with a support system? And what are the things that you're going through right now that you need support? Live Your True Life Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. I'll be back this time in 2 shakes.
You could be my luck.
Get in here. You're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. On today's show, we've been talking about support systems, what a support system is, what you need one for, what it's supposed to do, and how you can also be, and how we're supposed to be, a support system for other people. It's not just one way. You know, it's interesting, right before the break, and we were talking with Reggie, and Reggie had his amazing perspective on support systems and how it has worked throughout his life and the beginning of his support system and who was his first support system and how it changes and augments over time, and it's so true. And, you know, I want you to ask yourself a question right now. You know, what are the things in your life that you need support with? That's a big, important question. And another question, what can you do to help support other people in your life? You know, a lot of times we look at it from just one way. We look at it from the support that we need and what we need other people to do and how we need their help and their support and their guidance and their mentorship and whatever. And we don't look at it the other way of what we can give back and how we can support. Sometimes, however, some of you only think about other people and you never think about the support that you need. So if you look at this from both sides, we realize that it has to be equal. And it doesn't have to be 50-50 or 100% and 100%. It's not about keeping score, but it's about realizing that it's cyclical. It's something that gives and receive and give, and it's something like that because otherwise it doesn't make sense and it doesn't work. When things aren't reciprocal and people give and get, it doesn't work because it doesn't last the test of time. You can only give so long until you have nothing, and you can only get so much until other people realize that they are literally giving everything that they have. And it's interesting because I've realized when I came up with that analogy in the middle of the show, at the beginning of the show, about who's in your boat. You have 10 people. You have a boat that can hold 10 people. Now, I didn't say that you had to have 10 people, okay? I'm not saying that you got to fill every seat in that boat. You know, you might have some other stuff in there. You might even have some of your pets, your dog, your cat, you know. I mean, definitely support system for me. I mean, Buddy is my support system, and I'm his support system. He gives me love, I give him love, and I feed him and take him out and do stuff he needs to do. So it's a combination. We support each other. Well, who are those people in the boat? Who resonates with being in your boat? Who should be in your boat? Who are the people that should be in your boat? Who are the people that should be there? Because I want you to really think about this. Because like I was saying earlier, your support system needs to be like accountability partners. They need to stand for and have belief system, and they need to also allow you to have your responsibilities and to live true to your life. It needs to be people that actually help you to resonate with a higher frequency. It needs to be people that allow you to be true and honest. You know, your support system is not people around you that you feel like you can't be real around, that you feel like you can't tell the truth to, that you feel like you're limited, or that you're judged. Your support system cannot be people that you just constantly take from or you constantly give to and get nothing back or vice versa. It's a two-way street on every level. And also your support system, which is interesting, is probably needing the same type of support that you need, right? Because we're all on this planet together. So there's got to be some overlap there in reality when you really think about it. I find that practically, when you think about your support system, you want to think about, you know, what you can do to help each other, how you can emotionally support people, how you can mentally support, physically support people. I mean, it's one thing to help somebody, you know, to push a stroller down the street, because a baby, or to help a child learn how to ride a bike, or help someone that's in a wheelchair to push their wheelchair, or even more so, just doing the right thing on a constant basis. But going further than that, somebody going through a divorce, perhaps somebody going through breast cancer. Maybe you're having some trouble right now because you're overcoming with depression or anxiety. Perhaps you really don't understand how to take on all these responsibilities and you get overwhelmed more often than not. And, I find it very interesting because I think that a lot of times we don't really see all the things that we're going through and how other people can help us and vice versa. Because when we begin to realize the value that other people have and the value that we have, we can begin to make some life changes and really to cultivate an amazing support system. When I think about my support system, I think about some family members. I think about some friends. I think about some pets, right? They're way more than pets. I think about, a few people, mentors that, maybe have already gone. I guess I could bring their books with me or something like that. You know what I'm saying? That's what I was saying when you might bring things. I realize that support system is also, the way we treat ourselves. How are you supporting yourself? Because it's not always about looking outside of yourself for a support system. And I don't believe that man is an island, but I do believe that when you get to the certain level of understanding self, you begin to be able to support yourself more than you ever have been on real, solid ground. And that support is key because it really drives everything around you. Because when you begin to support yourself and understanding why you're here, the true dynamics of that, the true perspective, you begin to really understand what really makes you tick, to understand exactly what's happening in your life, and to understand the type of support that you need from the outside world. Oftentimes when we can't self-soothe and we don't have that support within, we look to others to do a lot of things for us, when in reality we really need to look to ourselves to make that a reality to happen. And those are the powerful things in life. When we begin to realize what we can do for ourselves, the things that we can do to support ourselves mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and not looking outside of ourselves for that support. And then we begin to really cultivate the outside support and understand what other people may need. Perhaps we've really figured it out and we can actually share that information with someone else to really benefit them. It's interesting because I feel like we all have these key things that we're really good at, these things that we bring to the table, these amazing abilities that we bring out. And I think these abilities really go a step further. And I think these abilities and these special gifts that we have can really be used to really support other people and really better the world around us. A lot of times, too, we're only looking at people, but we can look outside of that to actually increase our ability to change things. It's not about just helping our neighbor or coworker or mother or father. It's also about looking at the animal population, about looking at Mother Earth and taking it a step further. Think about it. This is really important stuff. Taking care of our earth and our environment is one of the most important things we can possibly do. And we have to really realize that, because if we don't have the environment, what do we have left? If the earth is ruined and goes away and we really keep going the same trajectory that we're going, what are we going to have to live with? So one of the things that you might want to think about is supporting Mother Earth, supporting the earth. What can you do to give back to Mother Earth? Because obviously Mother Earth is a support system to you. And when you think about it that way, it's pretty powerful. And so instead of just taking, what are you doing to give back? What are you doing to safeguard? It's not always giving things. You could be safeguarding. You could be one of the people that is actually speaking the truth and talking about chemical runoff and trying to stop that, as well as really looking into recyclable stuff that can be done in your city. Really making sure that the folks that are running your city actually have the environmental care and thought about our planet. We can't just assume that everybody understands the value of our planet. And also taking care of the beings that really need our help. When you support beings that really need your help, and they're really there as far as like animals, the animal population, not only to safeguard them in the wild, but also the domesticated, and to understand that you can be the support system to them on a grand scale, just like children. And when you think about the children as well, everybody, especially when they're young or they don't have a voice, or they have a voice but they're so young nobody hears it, these are the real things that we need to think about as well. They need a support system too. So going outside of your comfort zone and really thinking about that and allowing that to really sink in as well, and finding something that you can do to give back. And doing that puts you in a very powerful position. It structures your life in a way that you realize the larger picture, the grand picture, the big picture. Because that's where a lot of things happen. You know, when we really want to see our life in the way it is, look at the grand scheme of things. Don't just look at this small little thing. It's a puzzle. It's a puzzle of 1 billion pieces. How many pieces are you focused on right now? Are you focused on 2 or 3? Are you focused on 10 or 15? Are you focused on 15 or 20,000? How many pieces are you focused on? Are you focused on 1 million pieces? 2 million pieces? And that's where the change begins. And when you begin to inspire other people to do the same, that's living your true life. That's making changes to better everybody and everything and being the support system to other people. And by doing that, people will come to you and other things will come to you to support you as well. It's just fundamentally the key truths to our society, our world, and our planet. I hope this show has helped you. Please share with your family, your friends. If you're listening on Alexa, tell your friends and family about that as well. And check out the podcast on Spreaker. Go to Spreaker, S-P-R-E-A-K-E-R, Speaker with an R, S-P-R-E-A-K-E-R, and listen to the podcast. Or go to AshleyBurgess.com. Ashley, B-E-R-G-E-S, Ashley, B-E-R-G-E-S.com. You can listen to the podcast there. And if you're looking to make some changes in your life and you want to begin living that true life and finding out what that truly means, reach out to me. I see clients privately almost every single day of the week, and I look forward to hearing from you. You can go to AshleyBurgess.com, click on that contact page, and send me an email. And I'll get back to you ASAP, and I look forward to hearing from you. Live Your True Life Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. I'll be back this time, you know it. I'll be back this time in 3 shakes.